Hi everyone! Thank you for your continued love and support. We hope you're all having a great weekend so far. Psych2Go's vision is to make psychology accessible for everyone, as well as occasionally covering topics around mental health. Our mission is to help everyone become more self-aware of the various psychological factors that affect our lives. One such largely ignored aspect is quality sleep. Watch along to see how sleep can affect your life. Scrolling through social media apps as the late evening turns into early morning, or watching just one more episode to see what happens next in the show. We've all been there before. Fighting the urge to let yourself succumb to the sleep you know you so desperately need. These situations are rather common, of course, but when they become a habit, they can lead to a slew of problems. Sleep deprivation refers to when a person gets less sleep than his or her body needs to feel awake and alert. If you've been up too late on Tumblr, watching Netflix, or talking to a friend, you know that when your alarm goes off for work or school, you're not going to be feeling too great. And it's about more than just hours of sleep. The quality of sleep matters too, because it needs to actually be restorative. According to the National Sleep Foundation's website, our bodies progress through 4 stages of sleep, starting with light sleep, then the brainwaves slow, and the heart rate and temperature drop. Next, we fall into a deep sleep where we become harder to wake up, and finally, we reach the REM stage, also known as rapid eye movement, which is when we dream. This 4th stage plays an important role in learning and memory function. The effects of not reaching all the stages of sleep and the resulting sleep deprivation are important because they impact the mind and body in quite a few different ways. It might be kind of weird to think that sleep has such a significant impact on us, but here are some key ways that show just how important getting the right kind of sleep is. 1. Increased risk of physical illness. Our immune systems are a collection of cells and organs in our bodies that protect against disease, and to function properly, it requires a sort of maintenance. Sleep provides that maintenance. When we don't sleep, our bodies can't produce a type of protective protein called cytokines, needed for the immune system to do its job. The cytokines fight infection. As mentioned in a study by Mayo Clinic, without adequate sleep, we may get sick more easily. It can also cause recovering from illness that we already have to take longer. It can increase our risk of chronic illnesses and even lead to respiratory diseases, according to a Medical News Today report. It makes sense too. How can anyone hope to stay healthy if they don't stop and rest? 2. Higher risk of obesity and weight gain. Without an ample amount of sleep, getting through the day might seem overwhelming and exhausting, so exercising most likely won't be a part of your to-do list. But prolonged periods without enough physical activity mean we're taking in more calories than we burn, leading to weight gain. The risk for obesity is even more extreme when we consider that sleep deprivation actually causes the hunger-regulating hormone levels to fluctuate, so we crave more foods, carbs in particular. According to Healthline website, insulin, which controls blood sugar levels and promotes fat storage in high amounts, increases when we run low on sleep. 3. More trouble regulating emotions. Proper sleep hygiene is an essential part of being mentally healthy too, especially when we consider that our emotions are largely reliant on it. When we can't sleep at night, it's incredibly frustrating. We may be lying awake staring at the ceiling, tossing and turning or counting sheep in a desperate attempt to get some shut-eye, and the frustration it causes carries over into the next morning. Insomnia and depression also feed off one another, as reported in WebMD. When our negative thoughts or worries chase each other around our subconscious all night, as they do in those with depression, we feel worse. This in turn adds to the insomnia. Sleep deprivation can also trigger mania in those who are bipolar. This mood disorder is known for its grand fluctuations in energy, and its extreme is also marked by trouble with emotional regulation. 4. Lowered ability to focus. It's definitely harder to pay attention and concentrate after pulling an all-nighter. We become easily distracted, our focus shifting quickly from one thing to another, probably because we're only thinking about how tired we are in the first place. It's as though our brains are trying to catch up on the sleep it missed while we're still supposed to be awake and functioning. But there's more going on in the brain than just that. Sleep allows us to learn and form memories through the brain ripples that occur during its deepest state. With less sleep, we're more prone to forgetfulness and other learning difficulties. 5. Increased chance of motor vehicle and related accidents. Not only can fatigue lead to distractedness and difficulty in concentrating on the road, but it can also slow reaction time as much as driving drunk. In the worst case scenarios, a driver will fall asleep at the wheel. And even if that doesn't happen, he or she is still more likely to make poor driving choices, such as rolling through stop signs, blowing red lights, merging without looking. According to the CDC website, driving drowsy is responsible for up to 6,000 fatal car accidents each year. It's extremely dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. Getting an appropriate amount of sleep is important, to say the very least. Teenagers typically need 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, and adults need 7 to 9. Without reaching those sleep goals, you might find yourself experiencing some of the problems described above. If you're tossing and turning for more than 20 minutes, getting up for a short amount of time before getting back into bed again can help rewire your thoughts. Having a bedtime routine, such as washing up, turning off screens, reading a book, is an encouraging way to battle insomnia, because the body gets conditioned to know it's time for bed. If that doesn't work, ask yourself, what are the underlying thoughts you have that are keeping you from sleeping well? Or if you need to fight the urge to go to sleep because you want to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, remembering the negative impact of doing so might persuade you to get to bed a little earlier. Do you have trouble sleeping? Or your to-do list forces you to stay up late? Or is it increasingly just becoming a habit? If so, you might want to consider these drawbacks closely as they're affecting the way you live your life. Also, remember to share this with someone you think might benefit from these as well. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more content. And as always, thanks for watching.
The longest scientifically documented period of wakefulness is held by Randy Gardner, who intentionally went without sleep and no stimulants for 264 hours, which is about 11 days. Gardner was said to have no long-term consequences after the fact. However, he did experience severely fragmented thinking, slurred speech, paranoia, confusion, and short-term memory loss. There are a lot of people who say that sleep is for the weak and wicked, and I'm gonna sleep when I'm dead. Unfortunately, that may happen a lot sooner just because of not getting enough quality sleep. Sleep deprivation and even just suboptimal sleep for a few nights has major consequences on your health and longevity. In this video, I'm gonna tell you the insane effects of sleep deprivation, and by the end of it, I hope that you will take your sleep much more seriously. Here are the side effects of sleep deprivation on your body and physique. You'll experience serious health problems such as increased blood pressure, higher stress hormones, greater risk of diabetes, heart attacks, and irregular heartbeat. People with insomnia have a 90% chance of suffering any other health condition. Just 4 nights of sleeping about 4.5 hours reduce people's insulin sensitivity by 16% and make fat cells 30% more insulin sensitive, which means your body is less capable of handling carbohydrates and will store them more easily as fat. Increased risk of fibromyalgia, which is a medical condition of chronic widespread pain and heightened pain response to pressure. Sleep deprivation makes your body more susceptible to gaining weight. Sleeping 5.5 hours instead of 8.5 per night results in a lower proportion of energy being burned from fat, and more of it coming from carbohydrates and protein. This predisposes you to fat gain and muscle loss. Human growth hormone actually gets released during the first hours of sleep, which is incredibly important for building tissue and maintaining leanness. Hormonal malfunctioning, such as decreased testosterone and lower libido in both men and women. Your body's gonna break down its own muscle tissue and accumulate fat. Premature aging. Lack of sleep releases cortisol, which is the catabolic stress hormone. It also accelerates aging and makes your skin more wrinkled and dry.
With insomnia, nothing's real.
Here's how sleep deprivation affects your brain and cognition. Confusion, memory lapses, memory losses, and false memories, with you getting random mental images as if you were dreaming. Poor sleep reduces brain activity in the thalamus and prefrontal cortex. That's the center of rational thinking and cognitive control. Your mental performance and ability to focus will be severely hindered. Impaired judgment. Lack of sleep interferes with how you make decisions and interpret outside events. Even just 24 hours of sleeplessness makes you 4.5 times more likely to sign a false confession, especially about how good you sleep. Short sleep duration is associated with reduced leptin, the satiety hormone, and increased hunger hormones like ghrelin. You're gonna feel less satisfied with eating while simultaneously being hungrier for more junk food. Poor sleep is linked with neurodegeneration and other ailments. It encourages the spreading of toxic Alzheimer's proteins. Sleep loss precedes symptoms of Alzheimer's, so you may already be on track of getting the disease several years before actually showing first symptoms. A lack of deep sleep especially could indicate development of Alzheimer's. Insufficient sleep promotes the activity of astrocytic phagocytosis and microglial activation, which break down the brain physically. If all those consequences don't scare you enough, then this one might. Sleeping less than 5 hours a night increases your chance of dying by about 15%. Shorter sleep durations are associated with greater risk of death. Sleep-deprived people are also involved in many tragic events and accidents with cars, airplanes, and even nuclear reactor meltdowns. Microsleeps are brief occasions where you lose attention and doze off. They can last from a few seconds up to 2 minutes without the person even being aware of it. About 1 in 25 drivers report having fallen asleep while driving. Not in their entire lifetime, but in the last 30 days. Imagine how many drivers are constantly dozing off in traffic just because of not sleeping enough. On a societal scale, sleep deprivation has major costs on all countries and their GDPs. The US loses up to $411 billion a year, Japan $138 billion, Germany $60 billion, the UK $50 billion, and Canada $21 billion. It's estimated that if people who slept less than 6 hours slept 6 to 7 hours, it could add $226 billion to the US economy, $75 billion to Japan's, $34 billion to Germany's, 29.9 to UK's, and 12 billion to Canada's. Sleep deprivation also drags down productivity at the workplace. The US loses an equivalent of 1.2 million working days a year to poor sleep, Japan 600,000, and Canada 80,000 days. Just showing up to work and suboptimal cognition severely hinder overall performance. You're actually better off working fewer hours and getting more sleep, as you'll be more productive and achieve more with that time, not to mention staying healthier.
Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy.
Here are a few signs of sleep deprivation and suboptimal sleep. Feeling tired after waking up in the morning. Dependency of stimulants like caffeine, nootropics, exercise, or others. Frequent yawning. Muscle soreness and tightness. Irritability and bad mood. Problems with concentration and focus. Forgetfulness and memory issues. Brain fog and suboptimal cognition. Paranoia and overwhelm. Food cravings and hunger. You get sick very easily, and energy dips throughout the day. The signs of sleep deprivation, they tend to accumulate over the course of weeks and months, but your brain begins to compensate for the sleep deprivation. And what feels like a good night's sleep and being recovered may not be that good, because you're just so used to the sleep deprivation.
Planet Starbucks.
Honestly, I think that this is the most important thing to focus on when it comes to your health, because everything else will begin to fall apart if you don't sleep properly.